Hi friends, today to put Catelyn Stark from the A Song of Ice and Fire series into the spotlight. Catelyn Stark is Ned Stark's wife.
All these years and I still feel like an outsider when I come here.
Unfortunately for her, her life is filled with tragedy.
Mother. The Lannisters send their regards.
The name Catelyn is French and Greek in origin and it means pure. Her maiden name is Tully and it's Irish and Gaelic and it means mighty people. This is pretty self-explanatory as to who the Tully family are. Her surname Stark means cold, harsh and unforgiving. Again, pretty self-explanatory as to the Stark house. The sigil of House Tully is a silver trout leaping on a red and blue background. There really isn't too much to this sigil. Trouts are often used as a symbol of hope, love and community. This ties in pretty well to the house words, which I'll cover in a minute. The colour silver is a very rich colour. This tells us that the Tully household is a very rich household. Maybe not so much in money, but in history and culture. The red here is meant to symbolize the earth and the blue the water. The Tully family house words are family, duty, honor.
Family, duty, honor.
Those are Tully words, your mother's.
As I said, this ties in very well to the trout on their sigil. They're also pretty self-explanatory. The house that she marries into is House Stark. Their sigil is a grey direwolf on a white background. Both grey and white are very cold colours. White here also symbolises the snow that often covers the north. Direwolves are fearsome beasts only found in the north. This really symbolises how the Stark household views themselves, but also how others view them.
You have 5 northern children. You're not an outsider.
I wonder if the old gods agree.
The Stark family words are winter is coming.
And winter is coming.
This shows that their mentality is always prepared for something bad. They're always ready for something worse to happen to them. There are quite a few differences in Catelyn Stark's character between the books and the TV show. In the book series, we see that she hates Jon Snow with a passion. And not only does she hate him, but she really makes this known. Though there is an aspect of this in the TV show, it's a lot less than in the books.
I want you to leave.
We see in the book series that she's very rash and doesn't care at all for people who go against her family. Once her family starts being attacked by others, Catelyn Stark seems to lose all reason. For example, she releases Jaime Lannister in the hopes that he can help her find her daughters.
Why?
For the girls.
You betrayed me.
Robert.
No! You knew I would not allow it, and you did it anyway.
She completely disregards why he's been captured and what's meant to happen next.
I lost another to the Kingslayer, strangled with a chain.
I grieve for your sons, my lord.
I don't want your grief, I want my vengeance.
Another small difference is we see in the TV show that Jaime Lannister's life was actually in danger. This never happens in the book. She just decides to release him for her own gain. Another sign that she doesn't care about others other than her own family is when she's on the way to the Eyrie, 6 members of her escort die. Catelyn Stark doesn't react to this or doesn't care at all. In the TV show, we see Ned Stark decide for himself to become Hand of the King.
You swore the king an oath, my lord.
He spent half his life fighting Robert's wars. He owes him nothing.
However, in the book, it's actually Catelyn who pushes him to accepting the role. During Robb's war in the books, we see that Catelyn Stark stays in her family home at Riverrun. However, in the show, she's actually with Robb in his camp and she acts as a sort of advisor to him.
You don't want Balon Greyjoy for an ally.
I need his ships. They say he has 200.
They say 1,000,000 rats live in the sewers of King's Landing. Shall we rally them to fight for us?
I understand you don't trust Lord Greyjoy.
I don't trust Lord Greyjoy because he is not trustworthy.
By far, the biggest difference in her character is her death and what happens after. I'll go over what happens in the show first, because it's a lot less than what happens in the book. In the show, we see her take Lord Frey's 8th wife, Joyous.
On my honor as a Tully. On my honor as a Stark. Let him go, or I will cut your wife's throat.
She kills the young girl and has her own throat cut by Black Walder. This is it, nothing else happens. In the books, however, it's a lot more complicated. In the books, she actually attacks Aegon Frey, who's one of Frey's grandsons. She slits his throat after Robb is killed in front of her. She then starts clawing at her own face, her tears and her blood mingling. Raymond Frey is the one who slits her throat. Her body is then kept for a day and a night before it's stripped down and thrown in the river. This isn't where things end, however. 3 days later, Nymeria, who if you remember is Arya's direwolf, actually finds her body and pulls her out of the river. Here, the corpse is found by the Brotherhood without banners. There's a bit of a discussion about whether they should bring her back or not. It's decided by many that she's been dead for too long. Remember, this is 4 days after she was killed. However, Beric Dondarrion decides to sacrifice his own life to bring her back. Unfortunately, Catelyn Stark doesn't come back as Catelyn Stark. She ends up being nicknamed Lady Stoneheart, Silent Sister, Mother Merciless, or the Hangwoman. This is because she is hell-bent on revenge. She also doesn't look like herself anymore. A small difference is she actually wears her son Rob's crown. However, there's much bigger, more gruesome differences. Her flesh is soft and the colour of curdled milk. This is because she was dead for 4 days and in a river for 3 of those days. Half of her hair is gone and the other half is completely white. None of her wounds have healed, so the wounds that she made on her face by scratching herself and the slit in her throat have not healed. Speaking of the slit in her throat, when she wants to talk, she has to cover it so that she's able to talk. Even then, she's barely understandable and there's a weird gurgling, rasping sound while she talks. Her eyes express a deep hatred that many people have never seen before. I mentioned that she's hell-bent on revenge. This actually leads the Brotherhood to ruin. She's hyper-focused on killing all of the Freys and all of the Lannisters. When the Brotherhood capture Brienne and Pod, Brienne has the sword that Jaime Lannister gave her.
It's yours.
Lady Stoneheart, remember that's Catelyn Stark's new name, recognizes the sword as a Lannister sword. She orders Brienne to kill Jaime Lannister. Brienne refuses and tries to explain that Jaime has sent her to find Sansa and Arya. Lady Stoneheart doesn't listen and decides to have young Pod killed in front of Brienne. Horrified by seeing her young friend murdered, Brienne decides to accept Lady Stoneheart's order of killing Jaime Lannister. This is where the books end. We don't really know what's going to happen next. Originally, Jennifer Earle was cast in the role of Catelyn Stark. However, her and the production team came to a mutual agreement that she would actually forego the role. This is because she'd recently had a baby and wasn't ready to take on such a big project. Michelle Fairley came in to replace her and actually had to reshoot some of the scenes from the pilot. She was cast as Catelyn after being seen in the role of Lady Macbeth. Would you have liked to see Lady Stoneheart in the show, or do you think that was just too gruesome to be seen on screen? Please tell me in the comment section down below. And until next time, happy bubbles! Thanks so much for watching this video, and thank you to my Patreon bubblers for supporting the channel. If you want to see the other characters from the Game of Thrones series I've already covered, you can click on the box on the left, or you can click on the box on the right to see the most recent video that I have uploaded. Thanks for liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell.